conscious about what had changed in the last, let's say, 10 years is maybe too long, but since, in any case, since the assassination of Pim Fortuyn and later Theo van Gogh, and then the public role of Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and then the silent or spectacular death of what is called here the Polder model, and some tensions in society which developed in the public debates in the newspapers into a quite fierce discussion about whether this society is still what was called tolerant or not, and whether fanatic movements are gaining influence or not. So all that was the background on which Dirk stepped in and said, well, that's what we developed with the Stefan Zweig Society, and we thought maybe that's enough food to think about fanaticism. Dirk has written a text about fanaticism, it's in your folder, and we've taken that as a point of departure, and their fanaticism is seen much broader than political, religious, or any other fanaticism. It's a personal phenomenon, and there's a workshop about that tomorrow, so I won't use much more words on that. Well, to set up a Grundtvig partnership, Grundtvig project, a learning partnership, requires partners, and that's the strength of the project, that we don't think about the problem in one national context, but we think across borders. How did we find the partners? Well, we wanted to have north, south, east, west, obviously. We had some partners which we've worked with in previous projects, such as the Volkshochschule Hitzing in Vienna. So we are happy that we can work again with you, and such as the Tolerance Institute from Łódź in Poland. It's great that we are again in the project. And new partners. And well, that was a big adventurous, how we find Pele Association in Porto. Maybe we can discuss that during the port which you have brought, which I have seen later. But it's great that you are here. And then there is, unfortunately, not yet Sofia. And there's Goethe, which we work together in Amsterdam on a almost structural basis. Now for the first time in the European project, and the this weekend you have tomorrow we'll set up task forces and discuss the future. How will we work in the project in the next 2 years? How will we divide tasks? Who will do what? Heavy, a serious definition of fanaticism by Dirk. He will present that tomorrow, and we'll see if we agree, if we disagree, if we find others. I think that will be an ongoing discussion through all the project meetings. Strand, we'll see. Well, there's again an opening. In an ideal world, that would be publishable online or in print. We will have achieved a collection of best practice. And maybe we'll have set up, or ideally we have set up an online case study archive or a database or something that makes it accessible to more people who would be interested. We will have set up fanaticism indicator tests, which is there already, but which has to grow and which has to be relevant for Europe. And of course a vibrant network of fanatics, and that's of course us. Well, and I try to make slices, history slices of a few years always. Well, and the first slice is 42 to 45, and that's maybe, or for many people, that's the most interesting part. And that is the time of the occupation of the Netherlands, when the Germans or the Nazis occupied the Netherlands. And a lot of Jews, or at least those who managed to escape the deportations, went into hiding. And a Dutch painter, Giselle van Watersburg van der Gracht, and a German poet, Wolfgang Frommel, who was exiled in the Netherlands, decided, well, there are so many gifted young Jewish children, we should try and hide at least some of them. So that was when Giselle managed to rent this floor of the building. Well, we are in this building on the ground floor now, over there. And Giselle managed to rent the first floor and managed to build some hiding facilities in there. The floor is still untouched. It's like in the wall. There's a piano with a secret entrance where someone could sit in and hide, and someone else could play on it while the house was searched. There are other places to hide, and miraculously, or not miraculously, with very hard work, the group survived the war. Not only physically, but mentally they survived it quite well, and some of them pretend that it was the best time of their life in hiding, which is of course terrible to say. As it was a very hard time, but Giselle and Wolfgang Frommel managed to give them a program of contemplation through practicing art, through writing poems, painting, drawing, exercising almost monastic exercises. So they survived, and that is still for us today inspiring to work with art, with intellectual movement, to find a way to survive, to stay yourself, to gain personal freedom, and to be able to contribute to a human culture. Then in 1945, of course, there was the liberation of the Netherlands and the rest of Europe. The war was over. Everyone went out into the world. Giselle was able to paint again. Wolfgang Frommel tried his fortune with Carlo Schmid in Germany to do university reform and whatever. One of the people in hiding, Klaus Bock, went to study in Basel and Manchester. So they split up. They went into the world. But somehow all of them were missing something, namely that experience of staying together as a spiritual family, the experience they had in the war. So they started to think, how could we continue the work we started under suppression in a free world? And back then it was still, not fashionable, but still one of the tools one of the very common tools for groups to manifest themselves back then was still setting up a magazine. So they set up a magazine, Castrum Peregrini. Castrum Peregrini was the name of the place during war times. It was the secret name, the nom de guerre. You wouldn't mention an address, you had a secret name. And that was the name of the journal. The journal was published 5 times a year and was published until 2007. The journal was founded in 1951 until 2007. During that time, a foundation was set up. The foundation was carrying the publishing house. Giselle still lived in the house, worked there. Others came back to live and work there also. A library was built up, an archive was built up, salon evenings were held. And in 2007, a younger generation, amongst which Franz, Michael and myself, started to think, how can we deal with that past in a more contemporary way in order to reach more people, and not more people, but in order to be more effective in our activities, and in order to also work sustainable, meaning economically sustainable and economically independent. So we now work with activities, more or less. We have lectures in the evenings, like tonight our roundtable talk after sunset. We have, I'll speed up, I'll be quick.